Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Thomas, and I'm here with RevFlix, and I have Dr. Hurley, and she is from Hurley Chiropractic in Conway, Arkansas, and she's going to introduce a very special guest that she has today. And we're going to kind of dive into what they do for women, and I'm going to let them tell their story a little bit today. So, Dr. Hurley, if you don't mind, I'm really excited to get to know Nicolle, and if you could introduce her.
Hi, yeah, thanks for having us. This is Nicolle Fletcher, and she is a doula here in Conway. She has been working here with our patients and bringing some of her clients as well to Hurley Chiropractic to teach birth classes. And we've also gotten to work on some special patients together, which I think we'll talk about a little bit today, how a chiropractor and a doula work together to help moms have the best pregnancy and birth possible.
Perfect. And Nicolle, we definitely want to welcome you on board here, and we hope the community gets to know and understand exactly what you do and how it kind of ties in with everything that Dr. Hurley does. So if you don't mind, could you tell everybody, for listeners out there right now, really what a doula does and what type of services you provide to help people?
Excellent. So like has been said, my name is Nicolle Fletcher, and I own Nurturing Arrows Doula Coaching Services. The services that I provide are obviously doula support, both in the prenatal and birthing experience, as well as in the postpartum experience. I teach childbirth classes. I help women with encapsulated placenta, which is kind of a fun little thing there. Just kind of preparing them for the journey of labor. So when you ask, what is a doula? What does a doula do? The term doula is a Greek word, and it means woman servant. And so now we have a professional level of women coming along and serving women, other women, during their pregnancy and even in the postpartum period. So the postpartum period generally is about 3 months, but it can last up to a year under most circumstances. So a doula provides emotional, informational, and physical support through that journey. There's a lot of things that can be missed when women are just having basic or the standardized care that's available for maternity, women in maternity now. So a doula kind of comes in and serves as a liaison between maybe her medical care provider, her doctor, or her midwife, and just helps her navigate the terrain of childbirth.
Very good. And Dr. Hurley, when you're working with a doula, when you're working with somebody like Nicolle, do you guys get together and kind of formulate a plan, or is there a communication that occurs with you two to help out one of your patients or both your patients?
Yeah, it's wonderful when we do share a patient. It's obviously up to the patient. They have to sign some HIPAA forms for me to be able to let Nicolle even know that we are sharing a patient. But those are the very best cases that Nicolle and I have gotten to work together, is when the patient is on board with us being kind of a team to provide care for her. So there's a lot of things that we work on, on the physical side at my office. And I'm also kind of asking some emotional questions as well, because that can affect the pregnancy so much, trying to gauge what kind of support they have at home. And also knowing that Nicolle is there supporting them and really teaming up together to help the mom have the most positive pregnancy and prepare for birth and what that individual mom's goals are for birth. So we both practice something called spinning babies, which is really well known in the birthing community. That's something that are certain exercises, stretches that help to balance the body to prepare for birth. And so those are the great times when they can be introduced to those by Nicolle, and we're doing them in our office. And then Nicolle's teaching the husbands how to do them at home. And so we're all able to work together to help the mom's body be ready for birth, to be the most aligned and balanced as possible, in addition to the adjustments I'm doing. That is very supportive as well.
Oh, very good. That's awesome. It's just interesting to hear the spinning baby thing. I think that's just neat, to know that you guys are giving tools to these women that can help them, to ease everything in their life, going through that transition. So, Nicolle, what are some of the things that the takeaways you have, your passions for helping women?
I just felt like I needed to sink into that. That's just my butter right there.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
You know, I have birthed 3 children of my own, all in hospital settings. I was privileged to be able to not utilize medication during those birth experiences. And not because I was so educated about birth at the time, it was because I was afraid of what some of the medical interventions could have caused me, like the harm long term that it could have caused me. So that was kind of like the beginning of me on this journey. And so it started with just my personal, like, wow, this worked for me. It's different for every woman, but it worked for me. And I felt, when I think about my childbirth and my birth experiences, I felt the most empowered through them. I felt like if I look back over my life and I go, what did you do well, Nicolle? And I had them 3 babies and I crushed it. It's definitely
awesome.
how I feel regarding that. But there are so many women that don't have that experience, and don't have that experience from either a support place, an information space. There's a variety of ways that women don't have that. And you find that more women have birth trauma, birth sorrow than not. And so coming in and providing that education, that support and empowerment, right? So it's the power that the woman already has, but she needs someone to kind of help guide her and like show her what she already has inside of her. And so that's the beauty of what I'm able to do, is I'm able to pull out those sweet spots that the woman already has, that she already lives with, already exists in, and then help her to see it. And so that's the butter right there.
Yeah, that was perfectly worded, by the way. And I love your energy. That's really interesting. So, and you see, you're so passionate about it, and
Yeah.
it's really good. And Dr. Hurley, so you guys both kind of work hand in hand prior to the baby being born, and then afterwards. What for you? What is it like as a chiropractor? What is it like for your office and your doctors and your staff to treat people as a chiropractor? You know, and what you can do to help moms.
Yeah, so when we talk about during pregnancy, there's a lot of ways that chiropractic can help the pregnant moms. So we can help when there's problems, like very common ones, back pain, hip pain, headaches that come on during pregnancy. There's also commonly pubic bone pain we can help with. There's the aches and pains of just growing in your changing body. So of course we can help with that. It's also very well known that when women have babies that are in breech position, when they get adjusted and their bodies are balanced and aligned, the babies can often have more room to be able to go head down and be in an optimal birthing position. So if you have any of those problems, it's wonderful to go and be seen by a chiropractor. However, I also recommend that even moms that aren't having any issues or negative symptoms during pregnancy, that they still come and be seen, because we can help balance the pelvis and relax the round ligaments, some of the sacral ligaments, and help open up the pelvis, balance the body so that the moms can have a more successful and better opportunity for a natural birth. So that's my point of view as a chiropractor for the moms throughout pregnancy. And then we also have the spinning babies exercises that help to continue to reinforce that balance and create symmetry for the moms and for the babies.
Very good. Very good. It's just interesting because, of course I'm a guy, and as much as my wife's had kids, we've had children, but it's just interesting. And I've always been a fan of a chiropractic, as we talked before, Dr. Hurley. I'm a fan of always going to the chiropractor to keep that body healthy, because I truly believe it. We all talk about going fitness and working out and doing things, but yet some people fail to take care of themselves and don't understand. You don't know what you don't know. And when you don't have that alignment, you don't, it's powerful. When I tell people, and this is the truth here now, I have never in my life had a headache, never. And people ask me, well, why don't I have a headache? And I said, I don't know really why I've never had a headache, but I can tell you this. I truly believe that a massage a week and a chiropractor since I was a young man, a young boy, I believe that chiropractic has helped me just stay in shape. It truly much more deeper than most people think. It's not just going and getting an adjustment. So I really truly believe in it. So I really appreciate what both you guys do for the community. And Nicolle, I think that when, I think people don't understand everything there is. So when we go into the next stage, like after the baby's born, How do you help people? And then let's go back to Dr. Hurley and how she helps people and how you guys kind of work as a team, if you don't mind, Nicolle.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that because, first the baby's here and now this mom and this dad are trying to figure out what in the world do we do? So there's a lot of just, I think they're back to that empowerment. So women, families tend to really second guess themselves. Is this right? Is that not right? Is breastfeeding going okay? What does this look like? Could you just look at this and let me know if that's okay? And so a lot of the postpartum side to it is reassurance. And I think when we talk about how we work together, oftentimes I'm kind of like the first responder, if you will, to kind of see like, ooh, maybe even the troubleshooter, like, ooh, you know what? Maybe we can get an adjustment and on that baby, because a lot of people don't think about newborn adjustments as beneficial or powerful. And just as you even shared your own story of having massages and chiropractic care all of your life and never having a headache, could you imagine the beauty of like the next generation of babies growing up and like having that same experience and being able to say, I've never had a headache. My mom took me to the chiropractor on the way home from the hospital and here we go. And like, that's just kind of been the journey. So a lot of what I do is kind of troubleshooting and kind of easing some of that postpartum journey for the families. So sometimes like their focus may be really heavily on their child and neglecting themselves in the way of maybe not drinking enough, maybe not eating enough food, little things like that we don't think about in the middle of it because you're so focused on, am I doing the right thing for my baby? Yeah. Am I loving my baby enough? Am I feeding my baby enough? And there's a lot to it. And so as a postpartum doula, I'm able to come and just kind of check a couple of those boxes, ask a few questions, and then kind of navigate. So what's been awesome with myself and Dr. Hurley is I've had the opportunity to like look at a mom or hear some of her concerns and say, you know what, let's see if we can get you in with Dr. Hurley. And I actually take great delight in that. I feel like, I am somebody. I can get you in with Dr. Hurley.
Very good.
So, and they just love it and they're fascinated by it. We typically do a video so that the mom can see and look back on it and other moms can see, because, when you think about chiropractic care, it's scary for most people because they think of a car accident and let's pop, crack, snap things back into place. But that's not necessarily chiropractic care. It's much more gentle than that. And it's more like tuning into what's going on. And it's so gentle. And so I really just try to smooth that over with a lot of my clients and make sure that they understand that like nobody's going to be cracking and snapping on your brand new baby. There's, there's no more pressure than it takes to like dent a tomato, a soft tomato. So just kind of helping families understand that and smooth that transition. So a lot of what I do, if I could summarize it in like a nutshell, troubleshooting, support, and then making sure we're checking those boxes, even detailing things like, you went to the doctor's office. What actually happened? What was said? Let's write some things down in a journal and kind of have it maybe back and forth. That can also be really helpful because forgetfulness is common. When sleep deprivation is high, your basic skill sets go out of the window.
I love your energy. I really do. It's just interesting because I think the support you give to the women is just, and then actually, I don't believe it's just the women. It's the men. It's Absolutely. The family. And, so on an average, does somebody see you like a couple times a month, a couple times a week? There's probably different levels, but what would you say the averages what would you say the value in seeing a doula? How often would you recommend?
So it varies, but with what I offer my clients, I typically see them 4 times during their prenatal time, and that's 4 appointments. Usually those appointments are anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour long. And then I'm on call throughout their pregnancy. So maybe they had a doctor's visit and they didn't understand something that was said, or were super excited or maybe super sad by that. They'll call me or text me and kind of share what kind of went on, or maybe I'll dig into some additional research for them so they don't have to utilize what I call Dr. Google. That may make them really terrified of life in general.
Yes.
So 4 prenatal appointments is generally what I offer. And then there's the physical being present during your labor and delivery. And then there's also 4 postpartum visits that come along with that. Some of those are virtually and some of those are via in person, but that's a general package.
Okay.
Great time to sign up with a doula is usually between 12 to 16 weeks. I mean, obviously I get clients that, you know, when they have a positive pregnancy test, they're calling me. And then I have others that are like, oh my gosh, I'm 38 weeks and I don't know what to do. Can you help? So it varies amongst that spectrum,
Right.
but that's typically what happens. So it's usually once a month.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. Well, Dr. Hurley, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about what you can do, what you do as a chiropractor for the young babies and you know, the newborns, if you will, and how early do you start doing the adjustments?
Absolutely. So, like Nicolle said, I actually got chills when Nicolle said, can you imagine a next generation where babies get checked, their spines get checked and are adjusted gently from birth, and as they grow and develop, maybe we turn into adults that don't have headaches and back pain and even some of these other illnesses that we have so prevalent in society. So that is definitely my vision, and that is exactly why we want to check babies. Some of the problems that can be helped with is constipation is a huge one. A gentle adjustment to the spine of the baby can help to reset the nerves that control the digestive system. So Nicolle knows if she has a baby that's not pooping, she texts me, we got to get this baby in. And typically they will have pooped by the end of the day after they're adjusted.
Very good. Very good.
Sometimes
Yeah.
by the time they get home.
Yeah.
So that's always exciting.
Yeah.
Another one that we mentioned is Nicolle does do lactation support. And sometimes that is helping the mom to learn how to bring the baby to the breast and how to get the baby to latch. But sometimes it's the baby's anatomy itself. Maybe their jaw is tight or their neck is stuck, so they don't want to turn their head a certain way. Sometimes it's their suck or their palate. And so I do adjust the spine and check the cranium and the jaw to make sure everything's balanced.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
the coolest times is when we get to do that together. So a patient will come, Nicolle will be working with their latch. I'm watching how the baby's eating and even adjusting as we go. So that's always really rewarding and exciting to work together as a team and just help these moms and these babies get to connect and to meet their breastfeeding goals. But like we said, even if your baby is having no problems and you had a beautiful, easy birth, it's still great to get checked. You don't know what kind of position they were all crunched up in the womb, or how if they came out during the birth. There may have been an imbalance that was caused and that is not causing any problems right now. But if we can check them and balance them before it creates any issues, that's really the beauty of chiropractic, is in that prevention. We never know the kind of things that we do get to prevent when we just create healthy and balanced babies and children.
Yeah, and I can see the passion in both you guys. It's just there, you know, for the community. Everybody that's watching right now in Conway, you guys have to understand, you can see their passion right now. It's there for this. And I think it's so interesting. I'm just listening and I'm learning so much from you two. And what I like about it a lot for myself, and there's nothing wrong with going to a doctor, but I think your first step doesn't always have to be going to a doctor and getting a prescription in the medicine, you know. And Nicolle, you kind of touched on it a little early on in the conversation here. You talked a little bit about, it's not always, you don't know what's going to happen with medicine. Sometimes there's side effects that you just don't know. And it's years later. It's like, oh, I could have went to a chiropractor. I could have went to a doula. I could have worked through this a little bit different, you know. And what is your take on this? Is it society that's just not understanding yet, or they just don't know? Is it?
I do think so.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of it's a cultural thing to believe that your primary care is your maybe your first response or your first level entry of care provider, but really they know best what they do. So they know best to recommend a medicine. They know best to recommend maybe a specialist that can do a surgery. But what they don't know a lot about, most practitioners, is about the more conservative things that we can try first. And so having a doula that knows, you know what, this looks really serious, I think you should go straight to your pediatrician, or you know what, maybe you ought to ask a chiropractor, just kind of from that experience of what she's seen, can help you to troubleshoot that. And then chiropractic the same way. If somebody comes in with something, chiropractors are well trained to know, I have done this in a new patient appointment. I have said, we need to stop this appointment. You need to go to the emergency room. I have said, I'm going to adjust you today, but you need to see this specialist in the next couple weeks. Or I've said, you know, let's try a trial of care for 6 weeks, and then I'm going to refer you if you're not getting better. So we're really well trained in understanding what's urgent, what's emergent,
Yes.
or what could be maybe prevented by doing a conservative trial of care. So I think that's a beautiful thing to try. And the more that we can avoid those going down that medical intervention, is great. And when we can't, we're also here to support people on the other end of that. So
Right.
sometimes we're able to help a mom by Nicolle and I, what we do. Sometimes we're able to help a mom have a natural birth and avoid a C-section. But sometimes moms need a C-section. Sometimes a baby is able to avoid an intervention. Sometimes they do need medical care. And so we're also able to support them on the other end and help them to have natural ways to get their bodies back in balance after they've had a medical intervention as well, to prevent further issues. So, you know, we're totally non-judgmental. It's not our agenda to get you to come here or do what we
Right.
think is best, but it's to support the family and their journey. And just, I think one of the biggest things is that Nicolle provides, and that I'm motivated to help moms with, is just advocating for themselves, being educated, and knowing that they have a decision. They can always make a choice in every step of their journey. And being able to talk through that is such an asset of having a doula. And that's what inspired me to want to help moms, is to also help them to be informed and to feel really good about the choices that they make, and never think back and go, I wish I had known.
Right. Right.
Very good. It's so interesting. You know, there's so much to learn. You know, I'm going back now when our kids were born. I was like, okay, well, you know, I probably wasn't the best person for my wife to be talking to. We probably should have had a doula, and my wife should have been going to the chiropractor. You know, because I'm saying that I'm laughing, but at the same time, I really truly believe that. You know, and our kids go to the chiropractor to this day, and they're now, you know, one's in 30 and one's in its upper 20s, you know, and but the chiropractor, and one's a PT now, physical therapist too. So he understands all the body as well as both you do. And it's just interesting because I feel like right now, the community people, when I talk to my friends, they still just don't understand. When you talk to somebody, it's like, oh, you know, your shoulder's kind of hanging a little low. And their first response is, well, you know, I went and got a couple shots, you know, cortisone shots in the back and stuff. You know, I was like, I don't know, it might be a good idea. I really don't know anything about it, but go see a chiropractor and get a deep tissue massage and see what happens. And it's interesting because, you know, several times that I've recommended that, some people, not too often do they go. And when they do go to the chiropractor and get that adjustment, it's really interesting because they see a difference. They feel the difference. Mm-hmm. So from a doula's perspective and then from a chiropractor's perspective, you know, when we touched bases just basically a little bit early on about preventive maintenance. And even if you're just unsure about something, from a doula's perspective, what would you recommend a mom that's getting ready to give birth, or, you know, they're pregnant, found out they're pregnant? What would you recommend as a minimum, or how often should they talk to a doula right now? What would you recommend? I know you had your package, but at the bare minimum, you know, because I think when just listening to you talk, I was like, we should have been talking to you. So, because we would have learned so much, because, you know, I read how many books, and the books confused me because this book said this book said this. And it really actually does not make it easier for you when you read the books.
Right.
It makes it harder. If I had somebody to tell me, no, Tracy and Kelly, you need to do this. This is where you need to go. This is where you need to go this route. But if you could share a little bit of your experience and talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
So I definitely recommend, if anyone is pregnant, home base with a childbirth class. A childbirth class that is not offered by the hospital. Hospital childbirth classes are amazing, but they talk about what is available at that particular facility. a childbirth class that is off campus or off the hospital base can talk about the variety of options that are available to all women, to all people that are birthing. So I would say that's my first thing. Some women and some families, we're here in this COVID era where people are concerned about, can I actually bring my partner and my doula to the hospital space? And that's a real concern. And there was a while there where that was not available. So Dr. Hurley Dr. Hurley has been like on me about creating like concierge packages for a long time. And then COVID happened and I was like, guess what? I have concierge packages.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
Just to make it work. So
Yeah.
I think once you have a conversation with a doula, in your prenatal time, just to kind of talk about your options, someone just to listen to you. So, offering a consultation, that can happen at any point in your pregnancy. So have that at any point during your pregnancy, and then decide if you want to move further with hiring that person to actually be present with you for the labor and delivery. So there are a lot of factors that go into that, but just having the conversation, I think is great, and it's amazing, and it's something that every family should take advantage of. I tell the fathers, I'm as much your doula as I am her doula. Why? Because you're going to see things and experience things that you have not experienced before. And you're going to have questions. And a lot of dads are kind of often, or fathers are put on the back burner a lot of times. But what the element that's missing is that mom, that woman is not okay if her man is not okay. So I know that. And so going in, I will meet with him or have conversations with him or give, him access to contact me, and have several conversations without the mom being present. And part of that is like, he needs support too. So
yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Just along the journey, find a doula that's passionate, that fits your style, that gives you life. You know what I mean? Like makes you feel hopeful, makes you feel like, well, shoot, I can do that. Or like, I feel good. And not just sugarcoating it and making everything all fancy, because it's not. But someone that's like, you feel anchored when that person is there. You feel like you can conquer this challenge that's ahead. And that's really what I want to provide for women and for families. So yeah, just like that empowerment, that support, that anchor. So to answer your question.
No, that's great. You're doing great.
I would definitely say at any point during a pregnancy, or even when you're thinking about getting pregnant, like coordinate that and have the conversation. It's going to make you feel better for sure.
It's interesting because as you're talking right now, my wife and I spent a lot of time in Europe, and I think these subjects are not really, still to this day, they're not accepted here in America, in our country. They're not the same as they are in other countries. Yeah. It's stuff people talk about, chiropractic care and other, doulas and everything else. That's been done for years and centuries. Yeah. And so it's just interesting. I'm so glad you could make it on this call today because I learned so much from you.
It feels like, I'm sorry, I'm just go ahead. But it feels like, when we think about, earlier you had asked, why do you think that this isn't as prevalent for, the population here in the US? And I think it's because just all of our marketing, all of our information is driven to almost make people feel like they don't know, they're not the experts on themselves. And the truth of the matter is, you know you better than anybody else. You know when something's off. That's why you go to the doctor in the first place, because you have diagnosed something in yourself is off. And so if we can empower people or encourage people to tune into their bodies a little bit more, to take just a couple of minutes every day to just breathe and center themselves and feel what they're feeling, they can better navigate what's happening and what's better for them, what are good options for them.
And I'll speak from personal experience, which we won't go into my whole experience of me personally having Nicolle as a doula today, but I will say from personal experience that when I was having my baby, Nicolle really helped me to trust myself, to listen to my body, and she helped me to seek out care providers that felt the same. And so that's why I even think you find out you're pregnant, you pick a doula before picking an OBGYN. I mean, really, I went to Nicolle to figure out which hospital in town had the best birthing experience. And I was able to kind of coordinate and build my birthing team from there, and to make sure they were every provider on my care team was like-minded and would listen to me and validate me. And that was just so key in my birth experience, was having providers that trusted me and trusted that I knew my body. And so, like I said, really a doula can help you pick a hospital, help you pick an OB before you're even at that step. So I say first stop, doula.
Yeah, I think that is so. I mean, I just listening to you two talk right now, I'm thinking, okay, what would have happened years ago if I would have done that? Well, first of all, I would have been educated more quickly, and I think I would have been guided because every step. And you said it earlier, Nicolle. You said you start doubting yourself. We doubted ourselves every single step of the way. It's like, okay, should I do this? Should I do that? All the years growing up, the kids growing up, even you're still doing that. But it's interesting because it was somebody like yourself. You could help us guide us along. I really appreciate that. That's very good. And I like that the way it was put, Dr. Hurley. That was awesome. So, well, look, we're getting close to wrapping it up time-wise for the Reflex podcast here. But what we'd like to do is possibly, if we could, maybe in the next 30 days or so, maybe about a month from now, have you back on again, both back on again, and talk a little bit more, maybe pick a couple more topics to talk about and see what we can go from there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'd love it.
Well, I appreciate you both coming on board and listening in. For all the listeners listening in, we'd like both Nicolle and Dr. Hurley will be able to tell you where you can reach them. So, Nicolle, if somebody wants to reach out to you, can they find you on the internet, or do you have a phone number you want to give them, or an email or anything?
Yeah, so you can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I have a website, nurturingarrowsdoulacoach.com. That's my website.
Okay.
I'm on Facebook at Nurturing Arrows and Instagram Nurturing Arrows. Email nurturingarrows@gmail.com. So just think about a nurtured arrow.
I love it. Very good. And then Dr. Hurley, if anybody wants to reach out to you, I think you're pretty, you can be found on the internet pretty easily.
Yeah, absolutely. Look us up at Hurley Chiropractic. And you Google us, give us a phone call, and especially I mostly see only these pregnant patients. This is my passion, so I love to take care of the pregnant moms and babies. So let them know that that's what you're looking for, and I can try to find a time to work with you. So we'd love to do that.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. And we look forward to having you guys back on in about 30 days, and we'll we'll maybe get off the air here, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Welcome all listeners. I appreciate you guys, really coming on board, and hopefully you appreciate these two individuals here who are really giving back to the community in Conway. And you guys take care.